Alrighty, guys, welcome to NFL Week 6 for the 2022 season. My name is Brock Page, and I've been doing sports picks for free right here on YouTube since 2016. I also sell my personal sports bets on patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to see which one of these games on this video that I'm actually betting on personally, there's only one way to do that, and that's to sign up for my NFL tier package bets on my website. And the link for those plays is in the description section below. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into some free content. We're going to take a look at Thursday Night Football. I'm talking about the Commanders taking on the Bears, 8:15 Eastern kickoff in the Windy City. Chicago's -1, totals 37.5. Now, this seems like to be a pretty good spot for Chicago backers. They do continue to play some pretty good defense this year. They're actually in the top 10 in the league in slowing down the pass. And they're led by Eddie Jackson, who has 3 picks from that secondary. Roquan Smith, he's also the team's leading tackler with 54 on the season. And as much as the Bears have struggled with throwing the football, they have little issue running it. They're in the top 5 in the league in rush yards per game. They're facing a Washington defense who allows 26 points per contest. And they find themselves in the middle of a 4-game skid. You got to get a load of Ron Rivera. They asked him, "What's the problem?" One answer. He said, "Quarterback." Putting it all on Carson Wentz. And speaking of offensive production or lack thereof, well, Carson Wentz has been a bit of a nightmare in the nation's capital. He's thrown 6 interceptions, fumbled it 3 times, and he's been sacked 20 times as well. When it comes to running the football, this Washington rushing attack, it's virtually non-existent. They're in the bottom 5 in rush yards per game. Meanwhile, when it comes to the injury report for Washington, Thomas, Mayo, Williams, Eifler, Dotson, and Butler, they're all listed as questionable. Meanwhile, for Chicago, Cruikshank and Johnson are listed as questionable for them. Now, weather-wise, a little breezy on Thursday night. Kind of typical for the Windy City, especially this time of year. We've all had partly cloudy skies and 50 degrees by kickoff. Be a little chill in the air, but nothing too crazy. We are going to see possible winds of upward of 15 miles an hour, so keep an eye on that. Now, total-wise, Chicago saw 3 out of their last 4 fall under the number, throwing out that Minnesota game. Meanwhile, Washington saw their last 3 straight stay under the total themselves. I'm going to lean towards Chicago -1, under 37.5. Next ball game should be a good one. I'm talking about the Ravens at the Giants, 1 o'clock Sunday. Baltimore's -5, totals 44.5. And even though the G-men have looked really good this year, they're going to have a tough time slowing down Lamar Jackson. New York's currently in the bottom 10 in the league in slowing down the run. Meanwhile, offensively, when they have the ball in their hands, well, New York's got a passing game that's virtually non-existent. They're throwing for under 155 yards a game. Now, they're facing a Baltimore squad who can certainly score with the best of them. These guys are averaging 28 points a game. And Lamar Jackson's actually rushing for over 7.5 yards a carry. When it comes to covering the point spread, well, Baltimore's covered in 2 out of their last 3. And when it comes to the injury report, Houston, Hill, Bateman, and Cleveland are questionable for Baltimore. Meanwhile, for the Giants, Williams, Galladay, Toney, Ojulari, Flott, and Robinson are questionable for them. Now, weather-wise, should be a beautiful afternoon at MetLife Stadium. 62 and mostly sunny by kickoff. 7-mile-an-hour winds possible on Sunday, so really nothing significant there. Now, total-wise, New York's 4-1 to the under in their last 5. Baltimore saw their last couple of games fall under the number as well. I'm going to lean toward Baltimore, -5 on the road, and the under 44.5. Next game, Patriots-Browns, 1 o'clock East. Cleveland's -3.5 at home, totals 42. And even though the Brownies are having a little issue moving the football, well, they simply can't get the W. They lost 3 out of their last 4 games, and they gave up a whole bunch of points in the process. The Browns are also having a tough time slowing down the run. They're currently in the bottom 5 in the league in rush defense. Now they're facing a Patriots team on the other side of things who runs it for about $1.40 a game themselves. The Pats have also covered the number in 3 out of their last 4 ball games. So even though these guys aren't really setting the world on fire, especially statistically, well, they're getting the job done in the only area that matters, and that's covering the point spread. Once again, 3-1 against the number in their last 4. Now, injury-wise, Aguilar, Guy, Jones, Smith, and Aguilar, Guy, and Jones and Smith, they are questionable for the Pats. Meanwhile, for Cleveland, Hubbard and Ward are still questionable for them. When it comes to the weather, looks like it's going to be pretty nice here in Cleveland here. Mostly sunny, 55 by kickoff. Might be a little breezy with 12-mile-an-hour winds, so you may want to keep an eye on that if you have kickers in fantasy or really any one of these quarterbacks. But anyway, total-wise, Cleveland's 4-1 at the over this year. Meanwhile, New England saw 2 out of their last 3 get over the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward New England +3 over 42. I said quarterbacks. I didn't mean that. I meant receivers. Nobody's got these quarterbacks in fantasy. Maybe Brissett, but that's a bold play if you have them. Anyway, next matchup, Jets-Packers, 1 o'clock East. Green Bay is the 7-point favorite at Lambeau. Total's 46.5. And even though I do agree that the Pack should be favored at home here, I don't think the way they've been playing warrants a 7-point number. A little big number there. These guys have been quite lackluster on offense as they're scoring just 19 points a game. They also failed to cover in their last 2 straight. Now they're facing a Jets team who won 3 out of their last 4. They're doing a very nice job throwing the football. Whether it's Flacco, Wilson, doesn't matter. They can air it out. New York's in the top 10 in passing yards per contest. Meanwhile, defensively, New York's in the top 10 in defending the pass as well. C.J. Mosley's the club leader in tackles. He's got over 50 of them on the year. When it comes to the injury report, Jermaine Johnson's questionable with an ankle for New York. Meanwhile, for the Pack, Wyatt and Watson are questionable for them. Now, weather-wise, crisp and breezy day in Green Bay on Sunday, 49 degrees and 12-mile-an-hour winds by kickoff. Once again, if you have kickers in this game, keep an eye on the wind. Now, total-wise, the Pack saw their last 2 straight get over the number. Meanwhile, New York's 3-1 to the over in their last 4. I'm going to lean toward the Jets +7, keeping this one close. Over 46.5. Next ball game, Bucks, Steelers, 1 o'clock East. Tampa Bay's -8.5, totals 43. Now, I do think the Bucks should be able to light up this Pittsburgh defense. They're currently in the top 3 in passing, and Tom Brady's thrown only 1 pick all season long. And if he continues to get these really ticky-tack roughing the passer calls, well, that's good news for Bucks backers. And really, if you think about it, guys, the strength of this Buccaneers franchise this year, it's actually their defense. These guys allow just 16 points a game, and they're in the top 10 in fewest yards allowed. They're facing a Pittsburgh squad who scores only 15 points a game themselves, and they've done very little to establish the run. They're rushing for just 88 yards a game on the ground. And if you think the Steelers' defense can bail them out, just keep in mind, the Steelers' D is allowing more passing yards a game than most teams in the AFC right now. Now, injury-wise, Ogunjobi, Witherspoon, Sutton, Edmonds, Wallace, and Freiermuth, they are questionable for Pittsburgh. Meanwhile, for the Bucs, Jones, Ryan, Brait, Perriman, Davis, and Murphy Bunting, they are questionable for them. When it comes to the total, Tampa Bay's 4-1 at the under to start the season. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh saw 3 out of their last 5 fall under the line. Not sure why I didn't include the weather report in that one, especially in a place like Pittsburgh. Sorry, guys, I don't know what the weather is going to be like, but I guess when I did my notes, it didn't matter. I factor that into my picks. I just didn't put it on my notes to tell you. But anyway, Tampa Bay should get the job done. Give me the Bucs -8.5, under 43. What a mess. Next game, Jacksonville, Indy, 1 o'clock East. The Indianapolis Colts are -3, totals 41.5. And even though the Colts won 2 out of their last 3, they're really having a tough time running the football. They're averaging just 91 yards a game on the ground. They're scoring fewer points a game than any other team in the league. Now, they're facing a very tough Jacksonville defense who's arguably the best in the AFC South. These guys are giving up only 16 points a game, and they're allowing fewer yards a game than most teams in the AFC. Josh Allen has 3 sacks, 5 TFLs, and a couple of forced fumbles from that linebacker spot. Meanwhile, Devin Lloyd leads the team with 49 tackles, along with a couple of picks. Now, injury-wise, Barch and BUF-KC are questionable for the Jags. Meanwhile, Kelly, Leonard, Lewis, Hines, Dulene, Blackman, Taylor, and Pay are questionable for Indy. Now, total-wise, Indy's gone 5-0 to the under to start the season. Meanwhile, Jacksonville saw 2 out of their last 4 stay under the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward Jacksonville +3, under 41.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Vikings at the Dolphins, 1 o'clock Eastern start time. Minnesota's -3 on the road, totals 45. Now, the Vikes are on a 3-game winning streak, and they scored 28 points or more in all of those victories. Kirk Cousins is 9th in the league in passing yards, and he's getting a ton of production out of Justin Jefferson. The wide receivers averaging well over 100 yards a game receiving. Meanwhile, as a team, the Vikes are in the top 10 in the league in total yards per contest. They're facing a Miami defense who has a tough time slowing down the pass. These guys are allowing over 275 yards a game through the air, and they're giving up nearly 27 points per contest. Meanwhile, offensively, this is one of the worst rushing teams in the AFC. As a matter of fact, they're in the bottom 3 in the entire league in rush yards per game. So even though they got an offensive guru as a coach, he is not committed to the run. Now, injury-wise for the Finns, Armstead, Bridgewater, Hill, Howard, Carter, and Ahmed are questionable. Tua still very doubtful with CTE. Meanwhile, for the Vikes, Booth and Naylor are questionable for them. Now, weather-wise, going to be a hot one in South Florida on Sunday. Going to be 83 degrees. Might see some wind in the double digits. When it comes to the total, the Finns saw overs against the likes of the Jets and the Ravens. Meanwhile, the Vikings saw their last 3 straight get over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Minnesota -3, over 45. Next matchup, it is going to be Niners at the Falcons, 1 o'clock Eastern start time. San Francisco's -5.5 on the road, totals 43 and a hook. Now, the Niners have won 3 out of their last 4, and they failed to cover only once during that stretch. Now, they're also playing some of the best defense in the game right now. They're allowing a league-best 12 points a game, and they lead the NFL in fewest yards allowed per contest. Charvarius Ward, he's second in the league in PDs with 8 of them. He's also got 26 tackles from that corner position. Meanwhile, Nick Bosa is leading the league in sacks with 6 of them. And if you're still skeptic about Jimmy G on the offensive side of things, I get it. I understand. I don't know why. Guy does nothing but win, but I get it. People are skeptic. Media tells you he's not that great. But if you're still skeptic about Jimmy G on the offense, it really doesn't matter because these guys love to run the football. They're gaining just about $140 a game on the ground. That's really their strength, running. They're facing an Atlanta defense who's allowing just about 400 yards a game. And when they do have the ball in their hands, these guys are absolutely no threat throwing the football. They're in the bottom 3 in the league in passing yards per contest. Now, injury-wise, Walker and Pitts are questionable for Atlanta. Meanwhile, for San Francisco, Gould, Ward, Croft, Armstead, Moore, Bosa, and Kinlaw, they're all banged up a little bit. Mosley's also out for the season with an ACL. When it comes to the total, San Fran's 4-1 to the under to start the season. Meanwhile, Atlanta saw their last 2 straight stay under the total themselves. I'm going to lean towards San Francisco -5.5, under 43 and a hook. Next ball game, Bengals Saints, 1 o'clock East. Cincinnati's -1.5, totals 44. But despite being favored on the road here, I do have some concerns about the Bengals offense. To start, they're rushing for just 91 yards a game. And secondly, Joe Burrow's been sacked 18 times already. That's good for 3 sacks a game on average. Now, they're facing a Saints team who covered the number in their last 2 straight, And they actually do a nice job moving the chains. These guys are in the top 10 in the league in total yards per contest. Now, injury-wise, Landry, Winston, Thomas, Williams, May, Throckmorton, Turner, and Olave, they are all listed as questionable for New Orleans. Meanwhile, for Cincy on the other side, T. Higgins is listed as questionable for them. When it comes to the number in this one, Cincy has seen unders in all of their games this year. Meanwhile, the Saints saw unders against the likes of Carolina and Tampa Bay. I'm going to lean toward New Orleans plus 1.5, under 44. Next matchup, Cardinals, Seahawks, 405 East. Arizona's minus 2.5, totals 51. And for what it's worth, the Cards have covered the point spread in 3 out of their last 4 contests. I know that, they're not all too popular right now amongst NFL fans for whatever reason. But, hey, they get the job done against the number. 3-1 against the spread in their last 4. Covers over the likes of the Eagles, Carolina, and the Raiders. Now, the Cards have also done a nice job slowing down the run defensively. They actually have a top 5 rush defense. Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson, they've combined for nearly 75 tackles between the two of them. They're facing a Seattle team who took the loss in 3 out of their last 4. And they allowed 27 points or more in all of those ball games. These guys have significant problems on defense. And matter of fact, this Seahawk D is giving up more yards a game than any other club in the NFL. Now, injury-wise, Coleman's questionable for Seattle. Penny's out for the season. Meanwhile, for Arizona, Prater, Hudson, Vigil, Connor, Williams, Mullen, Lawrence, and Ward are questionable for the Cardinals. Now, weather-wise, kind of strange. It's going to be clear and warm in Seattle on Sunday. Looks like an unseasonably warm 75-degree day with very little wind and clouds. Should be a beautiful one in the state of Washington. Now, total-wise, the Seahawks did see their last 3 straight all get over the number. No real surprise there. Haven't been playing much defense. I'm going to lean toward Arizona minus 2.5, over 51. Next ball game, Panthers at the Rams, 405 East. The LA Rams are minus 10, totals 40.5. And as bad as Carolina is, well, I just don't think the Rams are anywhere near good enough to lay double digits right now. Maybe they will be by the end of the season, but as of right now, I just can't lay double digits with them. They're scoring only 16 points a game, and they're dead last in the league in rushing. When it comes to covering the point spread, they haven't done that much this year either. The Rams are just 1-4 against the spread overall for this season. Now, injury-wise, Shelton, Long, Rapp, Edwards, and Durant are questionable. Meanwhile, for Carolina, Woods, Mayfield, Louvu, Chenault, Sullivan, Oliver, and Horn, they are listed as questionable for them. When it comes to the total, 3 out of Carolina's last 4 fell under the number. Meanwhile, the Rams are 4-1 to the under in their last 5. Smells like a 10-3 game to me. I'm going to lean toward Carolina plus 10, under 40.5. Next matchup, it is going to be Bills at the Chiefs, 425 East. Buffalo's minus 2.5, totals 54. Well, guys, we got 2 really good teams who can move the football. Easily the best 2 quarterbacks in the game right now. When it comes to the injury report for Kansas City, Bucker, Dana, and Wharton are questionable for the Chiefs. Meanwhile, for Buffalo, Poyer, Kumro, Crowder, McKenzie, Edmonds, Knox, and Benford, they're all questionable for them. Now, weather-wise, comfortable and slightly breezy for kickoff. Should be about 64 degrees with 9-mile-an-hour wind. Partly cloudy skies as well in Kansas City. When it comes to the total, KC saw unders in 2 out of their last 4 ball games. Unders against the likes of Indy and the Chargers. Meanwhile, Buffalo saw their last 3 straight fall under the line themselves. And if you want to see whether I'm betting on the Bills or the Chiefs in this one, this game's being featured as one of my NFL tier package bets on my website. And the link for that play is in the description section below. But as far as making a free pick is concerned, I'm going to lean toward the under 54 in that game. Next matchup, little Sunday night football. I'm talking about the Cowboys at the Eagles, 8:20 Eastern start time. Philadelphia's minus 5, totals 42.5. Now, when it comes to the total in this one, the Eagles saw 3 out of their last 4 ball games fall under the total. Meanwhile, the Cowboys have seen unders in all 5 of their games this season. And when it comes to the weather, well, what do we got here? Weather-wise, I don't know. Didn't put it in my notes. Figure it out yourself. Man, that's bad. Now, injury-wise, Maddox, Elliott, Mailata, Scott, and Dickerson, they're all questionable for Philly. Meanwhile, for the Cowboys, Peters, Prescott, Schultz, and Bohanna are questionable for them. You know, we just added the weather element, the weather segment to our picks here this year. We've never done weather. If we did, it was very, very little. So we just included that, and for some of the games, I forget to put it in my notes, so I apologize. Weather's always factored into the actual picks. It's just whether I include it in the show or not, just to let you know. But anyway, guys, as far as selecting a winner in this one, gotcha again. This game is being featured as another one of my NFL tier package bets on my website. So if you want to see whether I like the Cowboys catching points on the road or if I like the Birds laying 5 at the link, there's only one way to find out, and that's to sign up for my NFL tier package bet on my website. Once again, the link for that play is in the description section below. I got to pay the bills somehow, so sorry I can't give you a winner in that one. But as far as making a free pick is concerned, we'll give a lean on the total. I'll lean toward the under 42.5. All right, next and final game for the video here today. It is going to be Broncos at the Chargers, 8:15 Monday night. The LA Chargers are 4.5, totals 45 and a hook. When it comes to the injury report, Allen and Hopkins are questionable for the Chargers. Meanwhile, for the Broncos, Simmons, Locke, Patrick, Miners, and Cooper are questionable for them. And as far as giving you a winner or a side in this one, guys, unfortunately, this game's being featured as my third and final NFL tier package bet on my website. So if you want to see whether I'm making a play on the money line, against the spread, or the total, there's only one way to find out. And as you already know, the link for that bet is in the description section below. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into our quick pick recap. I like Chicago -1, under 37.5. Baltimore -5, under 44 and a hook. New England +3.5, over 42. New York Jets +7, over 46.5. Tampa Bay -8.5, under 43. Jacksonville +3, under 41 and a hook. Minnesota -3, over 45. 49ers -5.5, under 43.5 points. New Orleans +1.5, under 44. Arizona -2.5, over 51. Carolina +10, under 40.5. I like the under 54 in the Buffalo-Kansas City game. Give me the under 42.5 in the Cowboys-Eagles game. And as far as the Denver Chargers game is concerned, I have no free pick available. That's being featured as one of my NFL tier package bets on my website. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Gotta thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, guys, bug in here. What is that? Is that a mosquito? I don't want to get bit by that. Man, these podcasts have been a mess here today. But anyway, guys, happy whatever day it is. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.